Alright guys, so here's my roof section. So rather than using the concrete roof look originally with the Walfers kit, I basically used some regular 100 grit sandpaper that I spray glued to the plastic pieces. I stuck them together with tape, regular painter's tape, and then I used some powders to weather it for where water would pool up during rain. And I colored the sandpaper with just basically black primer. Then I put together my AC units and weathered them with weathering powder. So basically it's a galvanized finish, but you do have dirt on the inlet vents, some rusting patina over time, pooling in cracks and crevices, and a lot of rust runoff from the runoff vent. Different ones have different degree of rusting at different spots, different pooling, just to make it look good. So this is basically how it's looking so far, and then I'll show you how the configuration looks like once they're placed on the roof. So here is my final placement of the ACs. We have one AC in the back of the warehouse, one on the front of the warehouse, and then one over the offices. The offices are directly down here, so this one is just for the offices, keep them nice and cool in the summertime. What I also added for some realism to go along with the rusting effect of the AC units coming through the galvanized, I also added electrical conduits on a full circuit to power all these ACs. As you can see, the power comes up, then it series into, or parallels, however you want to say it, into this AC, then it goes from this AC to this AC, and then the conduit goes back down into the main electrical supply. And how I did that detail is I used 1.47 millimeter music wire that I had left over from my tortoise machines. The original wire that came with the tortoises was not strong enough to flip my switches, so I had to get the thicker stuff, and then basically I bent the wire to represent the conduit. I didn't even paint it because it has a nice kind of galvanized aluminum conduit look, so that's what I did there to add more realism. So here's the roof with the added details. I did add the 4 roof vents. They also have the rusted patina of the galvanized over time, and I did do pooling of rusty water from the condensation vents here. So you can see with the added details, the roof just pops a lot more, and with the spray painted 200 grit sandpaper, you can really see the texture of the asphalt roof. Just makes it pop all that more. That's basically what we want to strive for in our layouts. Don't be afraid to try new techniques. We just want things to pop and look as realistic as possible. And in my mind, in my eye, I think I captured this perfectly. Let me know what you think. Before we get into the graffiti detail of the build, I just wanted to show you guys what I've done to finish the concrete pad the building sits on. So I mainly focused on doing greenery and shrubbery to finish the foundation off in a natural look. So we have some tall grasses and weeds between the track and the foundation, and along the back here where the Mao trucks are going to be parking, I did a lot of bushes and shrubbery to finish it off. There's the electrical boxes in their spot, and then more greenery along the back just to finish it off. And now to the graffiti details of the building. So when it comes to graffiti, there's no right or wrong way of doing it. Some people prefer the decal method, buying pre-made graffiti or making their own decals. I like to do them by hand, makes them more realistic that way, conform to the building and cars. So how I do the graffiti is I use white and black paint for outlines or for large white back pieces or black shadowing, and I just used a very fine pointy 0.3 mil brush. You can actually get thinner brushes as well. And then just for all my graffiti coloring, I use paint markers or paint pens. They're acrylic. I got these for Christmas from my wife. They're an Amazon purchase. This brand is Heroic. You can basically get whatever brand. Just make sure it's acrylic, because if you're going to be sealing your art, you don't want anything alcohol or solvent based, because most clear coats will start bleeding anything solvent based, so you want acrylic. And these basically have very fine 7.7 mil points on them. They're like actually like a plastic fine slitted point, so it's actually like a plastic tip, so you have very good control of the art you're doing or the picture you're drawing. Again, you don't have to go with paint pens. You can go with a full array of acrylic paints, mix your own colors, and then just use a fine brush to do your work. And again, guys, don't be afraid to try hand graffiti. It's very rewarding. You can basically start doing it on paper, or if you have scrap buildings or old scrap rolling stock you're not planning on using, practice on that. Weathering, anything, don't be afraid to try new things. Make it whimsical, doesn't have to be realistic. All these fine details in the end come together and just makes the model pop. So let's look at the building in more detail and what I have done to it graffiti wise. So when it comes to the actual graffiti on any rolling stock or structure, you got to ask yourself a few questions to determine how much is too much, how little is too little. First thing you got to ask yourself is, what era are you modeling? If you're modeling steam, you're gonna have very basic to non-existent graffiti, because back then graffiti wasn't really mainstream. Tagging was probably done with chalks or maybe a few can paints. I don't believe they had rattle can spray paint back then. And then the more modern era you go, the more graffiti you will see. As I'm modeling the 2010s and forward, graffiti is very commonplace all over the world. The second thing you got to ask yourself is, what area are you modeling? Certain areas have a lot more graffiti on buildings and rolling stock than others. You got to think to yourself, how much time did the young budding artists or vandals have to create the graffiti. If it's a well-trafficked area, there's going to be hardly none, too little. If it's a medium traffic area like where this structure on my layout is, you're going to get a little bit more. If it's going to be a hardly trafficked area like alleyways or heavy industrialized complexes in the middle of nowhere, you're going to have more graffiti. So with that said, let me show you the graffiti that I've put on this building. I believe I just put just enough not to take away from the overall building. So here on the first train bay door, I have a white crown, black dead happy face. Then I have a multicolored white background, cast tag, a dead pig, and an anarchy sign in black. Here in the corner is my more detailed tag. It's basically the concrete wall crumbling away, and in the back you have a nature scene. I was inspired by a tag of Google pictures that had a tropical theme, but since Perry Sound in the Muskoka area is the gateway to the interior north, I decided to do a nature motif. You have a sunset here with some shadowing trees and a road in the background, and it actually wraps around the building here. On the electrical box, I have a poop and a heart somebody quickly tagged. I have a white skull on the stairs leading to the back of the warehouse, and somebody just spray painted 1 with an exclamation point on this back corner. As for the office side of the building, that faces the main line because of security cameras on that side of the entrance. I just did 1 tag on the main bay door, and it just says Goose, just a little quick multicolor, a little bit shoddy because they did it really quickly. Yeah, so I believe that's just enough graffiti needed for a building of this size and in the location it is. So again, guys, don't be afraid to add these little touches and these small details to any size layout. That basically what makes your layout pop and stand out from the rest. It's all these little detail techniques, from weathering roofs to adding more finer detail that the kits don't come with. When you're building a building, don't just rely on what you get in the kit. Kit bash it, change things around, go from there, add your own twist to it, make your building a lot different from everybody else's. These are cornerstone buildings. They're cookie cutter. Many people have bought this building. Don't make it look the same as everybody else's. Stand out from the crowd. Make your building pop from somebody else's. And again, don't be afraid of kit bashing and making major changes if necessary. So again, guys, for now, this is how the building will remain for quite the perceived future. There will be a part 4 on this building focusing on lighting. I will be adding lights to this building for night scenes. However, I'm not going to be doing that till I build my other industries and my train station, because I'm going to be doing all my lighting at the same time. So installment 4 of the transfer facility will be quite a ways out. So like always, guys, thank you for watching, liking, commenting, and sharing. I do like your input and comments. Let me know what you think of the overall building, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.